Hey neighbors, tax season is almost here, and you can help others prepare through United Way's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, or VITA program. VITA is recruiting volunteers to help provide free, high-quality tax preparation to low to moderate income families, helping them maximize their refunds and save on filing fees. No experience is necessary and training is provided. Learn more at volunteerforvita.org. Hey y'all, Marie Cecile Anderson here. I love Nashville, and I have never felt more connected to this city than when I watched our community rally around local food banks after SNAP benefits were frozen this fall. People showed up, and that feeling of real connection is exactly why we created the CityCast Nashville Neighbors program. As a neighbor, you're going to get early looks at events around town, the chance to shout out your favorite local nonprofits and businesses on the show, and invitations to members-only experiences like volunteering with us at Radnor Lake this month. Go ahead and join CityCast Nashville Neighbors today at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. Today on CityCast Nashville, worried your electric bill is going to skyrocket this winter? Good news. We've got Ashley England from TVA's Energy Right program here to share the cheapest, smartest ways to keep your home warm. We get into smart thermostats, space heaters, emergency relief programs, and the best quick wins for home energy savings. And hey, stick around after the interview because Courtney Barler, the Chief Development Officer of United Way, will be joining us for a conversation about the United Way of Greater Nashville's vital work in our community. It's Wednesday, December 10th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Hi, friends. You guessed it. We are still in our week-long membership drive, and we're asking everybody out there to join CityCast Nashville Neighbors. You can head on over to membership.citycast.fm and sign up today. Actually, today's episode is a really great example of something we try to do here at CityCast Nashville, and that's giving you great information about how to save money in our town. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like things are getting pretty pricey around here. And maybe with some of the cash you could save on energy bills this winter, you might consider becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor. If you join today, it's only $10 a month or $100 a year. It supports our local journalism, and it also gets you exclusive invites to hang out with your neighbors and be part of a larger community. We have some really fun things planned for next year. And if you join this week, you will be getting a CityCast Nashville beanie that will hopefully help keep your head warm this winter. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and join us at membership.citycast.fm. And now on with the show. Ashley, you help people make smart energy decisions. What's the number one thing you recommend people do right now to cut their winter energy bills?
Yeah, if you're just sitting at home right now, like one of the easiest and most effective things you can do if it's sunny out, if you're just sitting there, open your curtains during the day, let that natural ambient warmth come into your home, and then close them at night to keep the heat in. And I just add one more, which is make sure your heating vents are not blocked by furniture or rugs.
Oh no, I need to tell my friends immediately about their vents because the last time I was there, they have their couch over a vent.
Yeah, we see that all the time. People are blocking them with rugs, armoires, couches, and that is really going to cause your HVAC system to have to work extra hard to pump that nice warm air that you're paying for throughout your house. So you're going to get like cold spots in your home and you're going to be paying more.
Walk us through the cheapest upgrades that make the biggest difference. And where should we start?
Yeah, you really want to start with air sealing. That's, the weather stripping around your doors or windows or caulking, that sort of thing. Sealing those air leaks is really inexpensive and it can actually make a really big difference. And then the other thing that I always emphasize to folks is to check your attic insulation. Warm air rises, you lose heat out of your attic. And then in the summertime, the same thing, the heat can come in through your attic. And so you want a great barrier there. air. That's going to protect your home. It's going to help you keep all that nice warm air your HVAC is generating inside. Then I'll go ahead and put a plug in. We actually have a $500 rebate available for attic insulation right now. And like pound for pound, that's a really good ROI. It's going to help you save on your bills and to make your home feel nice and cozy.
So I don't have an attic. What would that look like for someone who does?
What they want to do is, go up the attic stairs or whatever. You want to take a peek around and you want to make sure that it's a nice fluffy layer of insulation, and you want to make sure it's fairly even all over the attic. And then you also want to check because sometimes older homes, they might have that like cellulose insulation, the big fluffy pink stuff we think about. But there's also spray foam insulation that you can put up onto the roof of the attic. And that's all going to really help, again, keep that space winterized essentially. And that's a type of thing you want to bring in a contractor for, possibly. Maybe you're not very confident in your ability to lay down insulation. I know I am not. And so I would definitely recommend reaching out to a contractor, and that's how you can access that rebate for attic insulation.
There we go. I love it. Besides the attic, what part of the house loses the most heat, and how can you fix that on a budget?
Another area to look at is gaps or cracks in your walls, around windows or doors. And again, you want to look at weather stripping or caulking. They're really inexpensive and yet very effective. And if you address the heat loss, you're going to make an improvement in your home's energy efficiency and reduce your bills.
Space heaters, yay or nay?
Okay, so here's what I'll say about space heaters. They can be helpful in small spaces, but they're really not efficient for whole home heating, okay? And if you try to use them to keep your whole house warm, you are going to drive up your bills. And, I have to also mention they can be a fire risk if they're left unattended or if they're used improperly. So just make sure you're always using the manufacturer's instructions. And if you do use a space heater, look for models with an automatic shutoff feature. That way, if it gets knocked over, it's not going to keep running and light something on fire. And then keep them at least 3 feet away from anything that can burn. Think bedding, curtains, things like that. But I always recommend to folks, if they're really struggling, maybe they're really only using a small space in their house most of the day anyway. Hey, I have a home office. It's not very big. You could turn the thermostat down in the rest of your house and then use a small space heater quite effectively in that kind of scenario. But if you're expecting to, heat 1,500 square feet with space heaters, you're going to drive your bills up.
What temperature should folks really set their thermostat to during the winter?
Okay, so I want to acknowledge that this can be very controversial, and this can be controversial even in the same house, the same family. But we do recommend, the Department of Energy as well recommends that you set your thermostat to 68 degrees when you're home, and then potentially lowering it a few degrees when you're asleep or away. And this is what I tell folks, set it as low as you feel comfortable, but realize that every degree you set your thermostat lower, you're going to save about 1% on your bill. And that can really add up. So folks that are like, I set it at 75 and I never look at it again, that's fine. That's your choice. It's your prerogative. But just know you're going to be paying for that over the long run.
I just looked. Mine's at 74. Right now. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. After this, immediately I'll turn it down. Should I be setting maybe a timer or get a smart thermostat? Is that really worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. So smart thermostats can be really beneficial for managing your home's heating efficiently, right? So they allow you to schedule your heating to match your daily routine. And that makes sure that you're only using that energy when you need it. So, you could program a thermostat to automatically go lower when you're asleep or when you're away from the home. And then you can just have it before you wake up or before you return, it'll get bumped a few degrees higher. And then those smart thermostats, they can learn your habits and preferences, and they can be controlled remotely via smartphone apps, which is really nice. So let's say you leave the house, you forgot to bump it down, you're going to be gone for 8 hours. No, you can go into your app, you can go ahead and bump it down. It's going to save you some money. And it could just help you make some informed decisions about how you use your energy. And the other thing I'll mention too is for folks that live in the Nashville area and you're a Nashville Electric Service customer, you could really benefit if you have a smart thermostat, a Wi-Fi enabled smart thermostat, from enrolling in the Smart Thermostat Rewards program that we offer in partnership with Nashville Electric Service. In that program, we pay you for allowing us to change the setting on your thermostat up or down by no more than 4 degrees ever during extreme weather events. And you can opt out at any time. So if ever, we're in the middle of a weather event, you have a bunch of family over and you don't want your thermostat to change even a little bit, you can always opt out. You always retain control over the thermostat ultimately. But it's a nice little way to, help with peak weather events and get a little money back in your wallet.
That sounds like something I would want to sign up for as a single person that,
It's not a big deal. You put on the blankets for a couple hours, maybe, put on a sweater and some warm socks, and then it's over and you're making money off of it. It's pretty cool.
And it helps your neighbors out.
That's right. I mean, it helps the grid in general, know. That's one of the things that at TVA we're always thinking about is how can we serve the power needs across the entire region. We have nearly 10 million customers that we serve. And so during those peak winter days, the early mornings, like 8 degrees outside, there's a lot of energy use. And the HVAC, of course, is working as hard as possible. Building infrastructure for just those, 3 hours a year, that's a big, expensive investment to only be used ever so infrequently. So that's why when we can have programs like this where we hopefully, can encourage people to use a little less energy at the peak times, it helps keep rates lower for everybody. It helps keep the grid stable and reliable and resilient.
Okay, so for folks who rent or don't have control over making major home upgrades, what realistic steps can they take?
Yeah, so there's still several steps you can take to improve energy efficiency. I'd say using like draft stoppers. You ever see those at the store? They kind of are like these baffles that slide under your door. Some people, if you don't want to go buy those, just use up rolled up towels, and you put those at the base of doors. That's going to block cold air from entering. I think thermal curtains are a really great investment if you are a renter, really for anybody, but if you're a renter especially, those are really thick double-backed curtains. You can hang them up in the winter time. It's going to help, especially if you have drafty or, older windows. So a lot of folks do. Windows are very expensive. And then the other thing, of course, is you could think about using a space heater, a portable space heater if you're in a room that you spend a lot of time in. And then another simple trick is just use area rugs on your hardwood floors, right? That's going to help retain heat. It's going to keep your feet warm. And then you can always use blankets and put on sweaters like I think everybody's dad told them when they were a kid. That still works too.
When I was living in Brooklyn for 16 years in the same apartment, we barely had any heat. And I didn't want to complain because it was rent stabilized. And so I did exactly what you're saying. We bought those thermal curtains. We had space heaters. We could still see our breath as soon as you woke up in the morning. But hey, I loved my neighborhood and I was not home much, so it was worth it. But all those suggestions are great for renters. And I will never take heat for granted now.
For sure. So I'll return fire. When I was in grad school, we lived in graduate student housing. It was beautiful hardwood floors. And it was just, literally you could put an entire towel between the door, exterior door and the floor. But we also at that time, and it is a good tip, it still works, is buying those window insulation, the plastic kind of sheeting
we
kits.
Did that.
Those are really quite effective and they're very cheap. So that's another, it blocks the view a little bit, but if you're in a pinch and you're really cold, it works.
If there's a blizzard outside, folks, I highly recommend putting those up.
That's right. That's right.
Every day, United Way of Greater Nashville brings our community together so every child, individual, and family in Middle Tennessee can thrive. Right now, 1.2 million Tennessee households are working hard, but still struggling to make ends meet. Nearly half of Davidson County families and a third in Williamson County live below the ALICE threshold. That's asset limited, income constrained, and employed. But did you know that last year alone, United Way partners helped meet nearly 500,000 basic needs across Middle Tennessee? That means thousands of Davidson County students started school with supplies this fall. And kids in Williamson County get free books each month, all thanks to the United Way and its supporters. Your workplace can be a part of supporting the United Way's vital work today, because when employees give together, morale grows, businesses thrive, and Greater Nashville becomes stronger. Learn how your workplace can help at unitedwaygreaternashville.org/workplace-campaigns. Together, we're lifting up Middle Tennessee, meeting needs today and building stronger communities for tomorrow.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. The idea of learning a new language can be scary. I felt overwhelmed by that. I bet you have too. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and studies show that up to 90% of people trying to learn a new language give up. 90%. Fortunately, Babbel's built so that it's really easy to get started and really easy to stick with it. They understand that people learn differently. So maybe you can dive into a podcast on Babbel when you don't feel like a quick lesson, or you can speak out loud to get practice in, or you can explore courses based on specific topics and even create your own customized review lists, all within the Babbel app. Babbel has made learning a language all about small steps with real wins and progress you can actually track and feel. Bite-sized lessons that fit easily into your daily routine and are also easy to remember. Just 10 minutes a day is enough to start seeing real results. I've been learning Spanish with Babbel, and it's helped when I've traveled in Mexico, and it helps me eavesdrop on my son and my girlfriend when they speak Spanish to try to fool me. No más, mi corazón. However you learn best, by listening, speaking, reading, or writing, Babbel adapts to your style and keeps you motivated with personalized learning plans, real-time feedback, and progress tracking. And right now, here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
How about spreading some holiday cheer with Aura Frames? It's the perfect gift to celebrate your family. Growing up here in Nashville, we always took a family photo on Christmas morning in our matching flannel pajamas. But now that we're older and living in different cities, it's much harder to find time to be in the same room together. But thanks to Aura Frames, I've been able to upload all those old photos straight from my phone into the Aura app. And now my family gets to relive those memories together. And the best part, we can all keep adding photos from anywhere, anytime. It's truly the easiest, most meaningful gift I've ever given. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Does Nashville have any unique weather patterns that locals should keep in mind?
Oh, well, sure. Nashville's weather can swing just wildly, right? We can just run 10, 30, 40, 50 degrees difference from day to day. And so that unpredictability can just mean that your HVAC system might be working really hard to keep up. I think one of the things you should do always is to make sure you've had an HVAC tune-up. We recommend doing those things seasonally. You typically want to do it in the fall before the winter weather hits. You want to do it again in the spring before the summer weather hits. That HVAC tune-up is going to make sure that the system's running effectively and efficiently. They're going to check your refrigerant, your condenser, your evaporator coils, all those good stuff. You're going to make sure your filter has been changed recently. That's when we see all the time that people forget to change their filters. We recommend you do it every other month at least. There's a lot of buildup, but particularly if you have pets, I guarantee open up, look at your filter, you're going to see some pet hair. So that makes your system work harder, right? So yeah, just make sure your HVAC system is working optimally. It's kind of like your personal wellness checkup, right? And a little bit of prevention goes a long way. And that way, small issues don't turn into big, costly issues. And you don't wake up on the coldest day of the year and your HVAC doesn't work.
That would not be fun, folks. And I hear that we are possibly in store for an extra cold winter. If we have an ice storm and trees fall down on the power lines, we know the power can sometimes go out. What's your advice for staying warm until the heat comes back?
Unfortunately, these things do happen sometimes. And even though I know like our friends at Nashville Electric Service are pretty incredible, those crews are always just like on standby working in the most adverse conditions. They do really incredible work considering, but sometimes it happens. So number one, dress in layers, right? You'll want to wear a thermal layer, make sure you insulated pants and keeping your hands and feet warm. You want to pay special attention to kids and pets, make sure your kids are dressed warmly, have blankets for your pets, that sort of thing. I would always exercise caution with alternative heat sources. Okay. So if you have a fireplace or a wood burning stove, that's great, but never leave it unattended. And you want to make sure you're not using, gas, propane, or natural gas heaters indoors, because that does give you the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. So you want to ventilate properly and make sure you're always following manufacturer's directions. A couple other things. Retain the heat you do have. Keep doors closed, windows closed, that sort of thing. Keep the warmth that you already have. Protect your pipes. I like to remind folks to leave your faucets dripping just slightly to prevent freezing, and then keep food safety in mind. That's my final one. Just make sure your fridge and your freezer doors stay shut. You want to maintain the temperature in there as much as possible. And then you can always use ice from your freezer if you have like perishables or like medications or something to really keep them cold. And then hopefully our friends at NES get it back on right in time.
They really are incredible. And I know lately I get like a text message. I didn't even realize I signed up. They're like, hey, you up? Sorry, the electricity's out, but it'll be back on in 10 or something. It's been really incredible lately. So knock on wood that it continues to be so great during winter.
For sure.
What's the biggest myth about home energy savings? Do we need to be turning off light bulbs? What's up with that?
Turning off lights do help. They do, I promise. Particularly if you have older light bulbs. If you've not upgraded to an LED light bulb, those old incandescent bulbs use tons more energy actually than an LED bulb. But the biggest savings comes from heating and cooling. Your HVAC is usually north of 50% of your bill. And so I think the most common myth that I hear from folks is that, if I close the vents in unused rooms, that's going to help me save energy. But it actually doesn't. Your HVAC system is sized for the square footage of your home. And so if you close the vents, it's actually going to make your HVAC system work harder and less efficiently because it's going to continue pushing as the same amount of pressure, essentially working just as hard, but with nowhere for that air to go because those vents are closed. So that I think is the number one myth. Another I hear a lot is people think windows is what they need to invest in. And don't get me wrong, having cold, drafty windows is uncomfortable. But again, it doesn't use nearly as much or waste as much energy as like inefficient HVAC systems. So I would just, before you go and invest in windows, make sure you've done the other things to get your home more efficient.
Ding, ding. I think that's the best advice yet. I've had so many conversations with my mom and friends who just bought homes of like replacing the windows are so expensive. When then you look out back and you're like, how old is that HVAC system actually?
You're exactly right. The typical life in HVAC system is something between like 15 and 20 years. So if your HVAC system's on its last legs, it's expensive too, but you're going to get better ROI out of that than Windows. If you've done all the other things and you still have old drafty windows and you have the money for it, by all means, it will make your home more comfortable as well.
All right. So I went over to energyright.com and I noticed on your website that you have a DIY home energy assessment. Can you tell us about that?
I love this tool. First of all, it's free. That's always great. We love the free things. But second, it's very useful if you want to maximize your energy and money savings, but you maybe aren't sure where to start. All you have to do is answer some questions about your home. I recommend you take it on your cell phone so you can kind of walk around and look at things and answer the questions. It really does not take more than 5-6 minutes. And at the end, you're going to get a personalized list of energy saving recommendations for your home. You'll also find out what kind of rebates you're eligible for. And then you're going to get shipped in the mail a energy saving kit. And inside are these great little energy saving gadgets, things like LED light bulbs, as well as a free $10 home improvement store gift card, just to get you started on your energy saving journey. So I love that DIY home energy assessment. You really can learn a lot and it's free.
Now, can I order a couple of those and then give them as gifts for the holidays?
No, but you could, encourage those loved ones to take it from their own address. It's very easy. Or go and do it with your mom.
There's one new factor in thinking about energy costs this winter, and that's the rapid growth of AI and data centers that are being powered, here in Middle Tennessee. How is this increased demand impacting costs for everyday customers? And what do you expect in the future?
Yeah, you're right. Increased demand from data centers does put pressure on the grid. What I'll say is that TVA is planning ahead, both with infrastructure investments to generate more power, as well as programs like this, energy efficiency and demand response programs. It's kind of like that smart thermostat reward program I was just talking about. Like the more we can reduce peak demand, the more we can keep costs stable. But I want to note just a couple of things, like some nuance that I think it's good to know. First, TVA's residential rates are lower than 80% of the top 100 utilities. Our industrial rates are lower than more than 90% of the top US utilities. And we're actually right now considering a new class that will apply to data centers to ensure that they are paying their fair share for the build out of generation and transmission assets required to serve that growing load while making sure we can maintain reliability and resiliency. So this is definitely something that we have our eyes on. We're building a lot of infrastructure. We've built a ton of infrastructure already, and we have more coming online soon, but also programs like this where we want to help people save energy in their own ways, in their own homes and businesses and things like that.
And finally, for people struggling to pay high bills, what emergency assistance or long-term support is available?
One thing that I would recommend folks look into is the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. You might have heard that mentioned in the news. They use the acronym LIHEAP for that. And this is a federally funded program that helps low-income households with their home energy bills. It can provide assistance for heating costs and cooling costs and even weatherization. So funding levels can vary year to year. It can be a controversial program as far as funding goes, but it is a critical resource for those in need. And for folks in the Nashville area, you can find information about the LIHEAP program to serve you at nashville.gov that's administered via the Metro Action Commission. So definitely recommend, if you're struggling with your high bills, to go look into that program.
Wonderful. Well, Ashley, this has all been very informative. I think it's truly going to help us all keep warmer this winter, as it apparently is going to be pretty freaking cold. So
as best we can, as best we all can, right?
That's right. Well, thank you. We all thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, call me anytime. So happy to share this information. I want to put my last plug is, again, if you want more tips, if you want to find out about rebates for things like HVAC replacement, attic insulation, even HVAC tune-ups like we talked about, we have rebates for that too, energyright.com. And we also have incentives available for businesses. So if you're a small business owner listening in, check out those things for your facility as well.
Thanks again, Ashley. And real quick before we leave, got to remind folks that we are in our membership campaign, asking everybody out there to join CityCast Nashville Neighbors at membership.citycast.fm. And we received a very nice message from Gwen M., who recently joined. They said, I believe strongly in local journalism. CityCast Nashville is quality news and information at the community level, and it has helped me learn and enjoy my new city since moving here a couple years ago. It's reliable, up-to-date, comprehensive, and entertaining. So glad I found y'all. Well, Gwen M., thank you so much for writing in and letting us know how special we are to you. Very much appreciate that. Oop, and we also just got a new member, Angela C., that we are shouting out today. Again, folks, join us at membership.citycast.fm. This week only, you'll get a CityCast Nashville beanie to keep you warm this winter. And hey, don't go anywhere. In just a second, we've got a segment sponsored by United Way of Greater Nashville. Executive producer Whitney Pasterek is chatting with Chief Development Officer Courtney Barler about the great work United Way does in our community.
Hey, y'all, it's CityCast Nashville executive producer Whitney Pasterek here with Courtney Barler, the Chief Development Officer of United Way. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Whitney. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're here because the United Way of Greater Nashville is involved in so many parts of our community, from early childhood education to health services. When people give at the end of the year or through a workplace campaign, where does that support actually show up in our neighborhoods?
When people give to United Way, whether it's through a workplace giving campaign, end of year, or at any time, we take those gifts, and our goal is always to make sure that every child, every family, every individual in our community is thriving. And what that looks like is we take those gifts and we put them in two different places. One is we fund incredible nonprofits in the Middle Tennessee area. Right now, we fund 184, and these are nonprofits that are just doing amazing work in specific areas of education, financial stability, health, and basic needs. They're really lifting people up. So we take those funds and we distribute them out to those nonprofit partners. But we also have programs that we run at United Way, and that's everything from free one-on-one financial counseling to a pre-K preparedness program to a free tax program. All of these we see as building blocks to helping people thrive, to making sure that families and individuals have what they need to thrive in our community. And that's the ultimate goal of our work.
You know, we've been hearing a lot more about ALICE lately. These are families who are asset limited, income constrained, employed. Can you explain what that means in real terms here in Middle Tennessee and why that's such a focus for y'all?
These are families and individuals who are above the federal poverty line, but are not able to make ends meet in our community. So to kind of put it in context, across the state of Tennessee, about 13% of our population is considered below the federal poverty line. And then when you look across Tennessee with that lens, there's an additional 30% of our population that we would consider to be ALICE, which is pretty shocking. Almost half the state of Tennessee that are working, they are doing their very best, but they still have barriers to really thrive and really move forward in life. So we think that that is a key population that we need to be serving with all of these different building blocks to make sure that we can help them thrive.
That's amazing. Well, a lot of workplaces around Nashville, we know, are participating in United Way campaigns. But if you're at home listening and your company doesn't already do this, you might be thinking, hey, we could. What does starting a workplace campaign actually look like?
We are so lucky. As you mentioned, we work with almost 200 workplace partners already. And what I love about this is that they all look different. It really fits each individual workplace, and they can be tailored up and down in any way that fits best for the culture of that employer. So we have a whole team that this is what they do all the time, is they work with different workplaces to figure out what is going to motivate your employees, what's going to make them feel good about giving back collectively, and how do we put all these parts and pieces into place to make it really, really easy for you, for people to give back, and for these employers to feel like they're making a really big impact. So it really varies based on the company, which is great because I think it really reflects the culture and personality of those companies.
Well, listen, Courtney, you've been with United Way for 14 years. That's a long time to see this region grow and change, and Lord knows we have. What keeps you inspired to do this work, and what makes United Way of Greater Nashville special to you?
I am constantly inspired by the work that is happening kind of boots on the ground with those nonprofit partners, with the people who are working directly with the clients that we serve. I think especially for me, you know, my gift was not to be a social worker or to work in that space, but I'm able to contribute in other ways. And I see the incredible difference that they're making in people's lives. And sometimes it's just little baby steps that people are making. You know, a mom that goes back to get a certification so that she can get a higher paying job, or a family that gets their child into a high quality childcare center and they know that their child's going to be ready for kindergarten in a couple of years. And you can feel the needle kind of pulling and changing the trajectory of people's lives. And it's really just an honor to be a part of that work and just a small piece of all of the efforts that make that all happen for our community.
Thank you so much for everything you and your colleagues do for us. Y'all at home, check out UnitedWayGreaterNashville.org to learn more. We will also have that link for you in our show notes, so you'll be just a click away. Thanks for listening. Courtney, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!